as I mentioned, I had a root canal this past week, and I'm going to talk about it. And I'm going to talk about it pretty darn graphically. And if you don't want to hear about tooth stuff, don't watch this video because there's going to be diagrams, and I'm going to talk about this whole thing because it was a wild ride. So, story begins. I break a filling. That sucks. And the tooth with the broken filling just starts hurting more and more and more. So I get my dental insurance sorted out and head off to the dentist, which is good because they can see me on short notice. And I'm there, and they're in my mouth, and they're looking at it, and they're like, "Yeah, we can fix this today. You like the tooth that has a broken filling has a lot of brokenness going on. It's not doing too particularly well." And then they leave for a bit, and then the dentist sort of comes back in, and he's like, really, it's infected and you need a root canal. And I was like, oh, okay, but can we still fix it today? And they're like, yeah. And he's like, but about the root canal? And I was like, yeah, no, we can do that. And there was this awkward moment. I was like, oh, do you want to do the root canal today? And he's like, I actually have time. We can do a root canal today. And I was like, oh yeah, that's fine. Let's just do it. My insurance has got that. We're good. So we start doing that. They bring me to a different room, because the room I'm in is clearly the quick examination room, and the rooms where they root your canals, as it were, is elsewhere, I guess. And we begin. So step one, as with any dental procedure, is to numb the shit out of your face until your face can no longer feel anything, which is good because step two is drilling a massive hole in your tooth. And if you don't know, your teeth, I should say, is made out of basically the same stuff your hair is made out of. And they're hollow. And not a lot of people realize this. They're full of what's called dental pulp, which is a whole bunch of blood vessels and nerves, because it's important that your teeth can sense hot and cold and pressure and things like that, because if you bite something that's hard, you need a pain response before your teeth break. So your tooth is full of dental pulp, and that gets infected, and the nerve gets infected, and a lot of bad stuff happens. So we do some... I'm already all over the place in this story. We do some x-rays. We do a lot of x-rays. These x-rays show that I have a kind of significant tooth infection, which is not the greatest thing, but it is a thing. We get to the drilling phase, where they basically drill open your tooth. They don't quite pull the top off, because that would be like sawing, but they do drill a hole in it, all the way in. Mind you, I am numb at this point. And that's not too bad. That's just normal dental drill stuff. They got the big, crunchy drill a couple of times, I think mostly to clean up the hole after they, poked through. So they've drilled a hole in my tooth, because it's infected and nasty and needs this procedure done, which we call a root canal. Which is weird, because a root canal is a thing. What they're really doing is, extracting the roots from your canal. I don't know. Anyways, not important. So this is where they start inserting some tools, and this is where we're going to start getting really graphic with description. So, please take care of yourself if you can't watch any further. But the first tool is essentially just a spike, and they poke around with that to try and find all of your canals. They're sticking this little spike into my tooth hole and feeling around, go down. And then there's this thing hanging off of the side of my mouth. And I don't know what it is, but I think it's almost like one of those surveying tools where they're using it to measure sort of relative depth. I'm not entirely sure because I couldn't see it. So they're measuring my canals. I end up finding 3 in this particular tooth, which I guess is a normal number. And they appear to be pretty standard. That's good. And then they get this drill. A drill with a really long spike on it. It's for cleaning out teeth. And it looks freaking terrifying, frankly. It's pretty long on the head. It looks like a knife that rotates, basically. And he uses it a little bit. And the whole time the dentist is talking to his dental assistant. And she's talking about her weekend and what they have planned. And then all of a sudden, mid her answering, he just says suction. And from that point on, I am in hell. They keep drilling into this tooth with this knife drill thing. It doesn't hurt. Mind you, I can't feel anything. But, they are done talking. And so they drill and they suck and they spray with water and they do that forever. And then finally he's like, okay, I'm going to go check on a patient in a different room and we'll just wait here for a bit. In the meantime, get some x-rays. The dental assistant is new. She doesn't know how to use the hand x-ray machine, which is what they have to use because they can't bring me over to the big x-ray machine, which is fine. She keeps taking bad x-rays because she's not getting the little, like, film thing far enough in my mouth. I think she's worried about choking me out. And you can't, in professional settings, say, like, girl, you could stick it back there. Like, this is by far not the biggest thing that's been in my mouth and is very reasonable in shape. But, you can't say that. So I'm letting her struggle, and she calls in an assistant, and then they get the x-ray. And then dentist comes back, and he's like, so what can happen sometimes is these get really infected, and we can't finish them in one day. And I was like, okay. Well, I was like, and he's like, but don't worry, we can get you today. Like, we can do this. So they go back to cleaning and drilling and spraying and sucking on this tooth. At one point, they call in a second assistant, and there were literally 6 hands in my mouth, which is really what I was thinking earlier about the x-ray film going, like, maybe you could have just, like, shoved it in there more. But, I'm not going to tell somebody who, A, is new at a job, and B, who has a job that I don't have, how to do their job, because that's their job. And she was doing fine, Clearly it was like, this was a bad tooth. This goes on for 3 hours. I am in the chair for 3 hours to varying degrees of drilling, cleaning, sucking, spraying, to just get this, like, tooth cleaned out. He gets to the point where he's like, all 3 canals are done, but your tooth won't stop bleeding. It is so infected that, like, usually, it's not a problem, but it just won't stop. And I'm like, oh, and he's like, yeah, so we went back and we looked at your big x-ray on the big, like, machine that goes around your head kind of thing. These dark shadows indicate that you have a sinus infection, a dry sinus infection. And we thought that might be the case, but, it's confirmed. Like, you have a massive infection in your face. And it's like, great. And he's like, so we can't close today because we can't just have it bleeding in there underneath the resin. Like, okay, well, what do we do? And the thing is, well, now we just treat it like a cavity. So we're going to pack the tooth. This is crazy. They pack the tooth with cotton, and then they put a cavity cap on top of the hole that they drilled into my tooth. And then they give me a prescription to deal with this massive infection I have in my face. So basically, I spent 3 hours in a chair with people drilling on my teeth, and one tooth, and it just wouldn't stop bleeding. It was just so massively infected. And the big thing is just like I said, when he said suction and the conversation died, I knew, I knew I was in trouble. So good news is, immediately after, I can eat hot and cold food again, because, oh boy, was that tooth really bothering me. I am still working through antibiotics for the massive sinus infection I have, and now that the tooth itself has been root canaled, because the tooth is now dead. There is no more feeling. There are no more blood vessels. The tooth is dead, and the next step is opening it back up, removing the packing, and then resealing it with resin. But that's after I clear the infection. Ceramic crown is kind of in my future, and I am mostly done with the antibiotics, so we will see how that goes. I don't really know. I don't know what to make of that, to be honest. I hope it's cleared. Admittedly, once the tooth was killed, because that's what we did to it, I realized how much more pain I was. Like, I would have noticed this sinus infection if it wasn't for the tooth pain. Like, I thought it was all the tooth, and now that the tooth is calmed down, I can feel the, like, sort of gross itchiness behind my face, and that, which I just thought was the tooth, because the tooth hurt so bad. But that is the story of how I had my first half of my first root canal. So we'll get back in later where they're actually going to do that, and then I'll get a crown, and then honestly, part of me, I said this in the stream about SCPs. Part of me, I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna recolor one of my teeth gold. Just one of them, not the one that corresponds to the tooth that had it. Maybe I will, but I just think that'll be kind of fun, right? Like that'll just be a fun little thing for us, right? Anyways, that's the story of my first root canal. I hope you liked it, and back to the vlog. Or I guess, actually, no, by now I think I've decided I'm doing this as a bonus episode. So thanks for watching. Like and subscribe if you're into me talking about what happens to me. And check out my vlog where I do it every week. Until next time, this is Wildweiler signing off. Bye-bye. Oh, no, other hand. Bye-bye.